Hello, everyone. We are back today with Greg Bogue, who is the experience architect for Maritz Travel. Greg will be joining Social Tables CEO Don Berger on July 23rd for a webinar. And we're just getting some background information from Greg before we do that. He has kindly agreed to write a blog series for us. I hope you're able to check out the first blog of his. And today we're going to be talking about number 2, which is the perspective taking and foundation of guest focus at an event. So Greg, thank you again for being with us today.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Great. So last time we discussed experiential design principles that were being driven by neuroscience. In your opinion, which principle is the most important?
Well, I think the very, very most important thing we have before us is this whole idea of perspective taking. The design community, the scientific community, they call it empathetic perspective taking, right? So it's this whole idea of putting yourself in the shoes of the guest. You know, one of the things that is so important is before you can do that is you have to take your shoes off first, right?
Absolutely.
Everybody forgets that. We jump into this idea of trying to get in the shoes of the guest, but we carry our lens with us. And it's so important that we take a hold of this idea of empathetic perspective taking to really, really understand their experience. I was in a session a couple of weeks ago, and I asked a bunch of meeting planners, when was the last time you went through the registration process that your guests go through? No one raised their hand.
Absolutely.
That's a problem. That's a huge problem. So the scientific community just really gets wrapped up in this, and we're seeing a lot of things around this whole idea of design thinking. We're hearing a whole lot more about this idea of design thinking, and really that is customer-centered, or what I like to call guest-centered design, and it's all about really watching and understanding the people that are coming to your program.
Absolutely. So that just brings to mind a question for me. It's interesting that you say, you know, I, as a former planner, I feel like I got in the weeds a lot when I was planning, trying to hit every single checkpoint. And you're right, I never personally walked through anything. So do you think that this perspective taking and this guest focus is trying to alleviate planners from kind of being bogged down in the weeds and really taking a step back and seeing that 30,000 foot view and saying, you know, maybe the type of clip on your attendee's name badge is not what you need to focus 2 hours of your time on, and it's more about how they're actually getting to the badges in the first place?
I think that's a great point. Absolutely. Another great aspect or another great tool to use is just this whole idea of a journey map. You know, in the marketing business, we've understood customer journey maps for a long, long time. But in the event business, what is the journey your guests are going through? And identify each of those experiences on each of those touch points. And all of a sudden, your eyes are open, and it's like, oh my, what am I creating here, right? So yeah, that great point. We get so caught up in the details that we forget that we're planning an experience that spans over days, weeks, maybe even months in terms of the total program experience.
Absolutely. So when you're discussing your map, how many steps are they? What are they? How can a planner take away what you're saying from this blog post before they even get to the webinar?
Yeah, great question. So I mean, we've looked at a lot of different programs, and of course, everybody automatically thinks pre, during, and post. Well, that's great. That's 3 distinct phases. We use 8. We start with the announcing phase. That's when the program is announced. Then there's this idea of attracting people, the attracting phase. Then anticipating. There's a huge opportunity in the anticipating phase to really help eliminate disappointment, right? And then arrival. Once, you know, people have to travel to get there. Then we talk about entering, engaging, exiting. You know, we do a great job saying hello and not such a great job saying goodbye. We really, as an industry, need to start working on the exit, and then of course extending. How do we get value from the investment 3, 4, 6 months down the road?
You know what I find very interesting about all of those pieces that you just laid out is so much of it has so little to do with the actual event itself. It's about building that community and building those relationships before, during, of course, but including after. So I think that's very fascinating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're not trying to reshape how you're not trying to tell planners what to do better in the actual event. It's how to touch people in a different capacity than they're already doing.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, very good. I'm very much looking forward to this vlog, and thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye, Greg.